talking about plantains.
But not this kind.
We're talking about these kind of plantains.
But not yet.
We're going to talk about some history. The Germans believed in the legend that Plantain was once a maiden who waited by the roadside for her absent lover and just wept and cried until the fairies took pity on her and changed her into a wayside plant. The word plantain is derived from the Latin word plantage, and it was also nicknamed white man's foot because it grows by paths and walkways, and it was also used to treat a number of foot injuries. Some backstory on plantain: from 356 to 323 BC, it was used to cure headaches. From 450 to 1066 AD, it was considered one of the 9 herbs that was sacred to the Anglo-Saxons. And it was also symbolized for early Christians as a trodden path that they walked on to seek Christ. In 1466, a scholar said that plantain was used as an antidote for poisonous spiders. It's unsure if this is valid or not, but he did anyways. In 1396, the plantain was mentioned in Romeo and Juliet, written by Shakespeare, who also coined the term a cure-all for plantains. It moved west with the pioneers in America, and it can now be found across North America, Europe, and Asia.
Okay, botanists, we're going to learn a little bit about our wild plantain. So as you can see here, we got a concrete parking lot to our left and a little bit of turned up soil and dirt to our right. This is the perfect location to be able to find the infamous, elusive, but quite abundant plantain. So we have a couple different plants around here. We got some grasses, some dandelions, and our plantain. Out in the wild, these guys are pretty easy to find. You have your broadleaf species, and just right over here next to it is our narrowleaf species. So some really distinct features of these guys is that they have parallel veins going up the leaf there and smooth edges. So the biggest thing that you can confuse these guys with are dandelions, and dandelions have these serrated edges and only one middle vein generally, whereas the plantains, they'll have these long ones. And you can also see here the buds of a flower for the plantains. Now these flowers probably won't bloom this late in the season. More likely you'll be able to find, these are some dead ones, but that's also similar to what the fruit looks like. It's going to be more of a brown husk that you'll see on the slideshow. Additionally, there's some other plants around here growing by, more narrow leaf plantains and some other herbs and some broadleaf little baby ones mixed in here along with the grasses. And it's really important to note like your location. Even though the weather isn't ideal today for plantain hunting, we want to remember that it's going to be along those well-turned soil mixed in with lots of other plants and foliage and leaves and stuff. Additionally, these guys prefer more moist soil rather than dry, so our clay habitat, like clay soil that's found throughout all of Ohio, is really great for these guys, along with any other like nice moist things. Yeah. Okay, so we have two different varieties of plantains. You have your narrow leaf, like this one, and you have your broad leaf, like this one, also shown on the screen. And then there is the plant itself, which has a variety of different characteristics, including a fibrous root network. So there's lots of different little roots rather than one big root like a taproot. The veins on the leaves are parallel and going upwards, and the margins are generally entire or considered wavy. And then we also have the moisture, like the soil texture that these plants grow in the best, is your disturbed soil, like Kaitlyn talked about. It grows where people have walked a lot, and you also want it to be nice and moist. They don't do as well in drier climates. A really interesting fact about these guys is that the seeds have the potential to remain dormant after being like shed into the ground and fertilized for over 40 years until weather conditions are ample for them to be able to grow, which is really interesting. Which the ideal temperature for germination for these guys is about 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And then specifically about our fruits and flowers of the plant, the flowers kind of look like this, or you can see them blooming. They're green with a little bit of red on the tips until they come out bloom, and they're white with 4 to 5 petals. And you'll see the blooms most often April through September. So we're kind of past the season for flowers now. And then once the flowers have been pollinated, you'll get little fruits and stuff, which kind of just look like dried up husks of the original plant. And each of these seeds, or each of these fruits, can have anywhere between 6 to 20 seeds, which is really interesting.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the benefits of using plantains medicinally. So they can be used as ointments or skin lotions or salves, and the root can also be used separately. So for ointments, it's going to relieve insect bites or stop the itching of poison ivy. So like skin irritant issues. For the lotions and salves, you've got stimulating and cleansing properties for your skin. And then if you just take the root and actually chew it, it helps to ease toothache. But like any other herbal remedy, there are some health risks, especially if you eat too much of the plant. So if you eat the leaves if you eat excess amounts of leaves, it can cause a mild laxative effect. And then if you eat too many seeds, you can have a drop in your blood pressure. Both of those things can be seen as positive or negative depending on the user's. So both of these things can be seen as positive or negative depending on what the user needs it for. And if you take plantains and put it into a supplement form, so with other herbs or other pharmaceuticals of any kind, it can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, bloating, or skin reactions. And much like any other plant, if you are allergic to it, you will have an allergic reaction.
Okay, some other benefits for these that aren't medicinal are food. You can use the tender young leaves for in salads or in other foods, and then if you steam them lightly, the same tender young leaves, you can also use them as you would spinach. Some other things would be ornamental, so decoration. You can use them to decorate outdoors, and some specific horticultural varieties include rose plantains, variegated plantain, and Spanish plantain. You can also use them to dye things naturally, such as alum mordanted wool. You can color it a dull gold, just like you see up here, the top one. And then for chrome mandated wool, you can color it camel. So the different varieties.
These are all of our resources, and those are plantains that we're just holding.